Kanu had always been known as the bright one in his village. Top of his class, respectful, ambitious. After NYSC, he refused to return home with the others. Instead, he gathered 50,000 naira and journeyed to Lagos, Nigeria's city of dreams, hoping to make it like so many others. He stayed with his childhood friend, Ojo, who was already working with a logistics company. Ojo welcomed him warmly at first, but soon, the weight of Lagos life and Kanu's inability to contribute began to wear down the friendship. By the third week, Ojo began avoiding him. He became passive-aggressive, irritated at small things. Then one evening, Kanu returned to find the door locked. His bag sat by the gate. Ojo's text was short and sharp. "Man, I can't accommodate you anymore. You need to try and hustle like the rest of us." Homeless and broke, Kanu slept in front of a closed shop in Ladipo that night, using his bag as a pillow. Still, Kanu didn't give up. He printed CVs and moved from Victoria Island to CMS every day, submitting to banks, supermarkets, private companies. Nothing came. He tried selling men's shirts at Yaba with his last 10,000 naira, but an Agbero seized his goods. He tried POS business with borrowed capital. He was scammed by a fake customer with cloned ATM cards. His attempt at a ride-hailing gig failed when the car owner accused him of damaging the vehicle and withheld all profits. Everyone said, "Keep moving forward." But forward was eating him alive. It was a Wednesday afternoon when Kanu fainted at a BRT bus stop due to hunger. A street vendor, an old man who sold roasted corn, helped him up and handed him water. As Kanu regained himself, the old man said something that hit deep. "My son, sometimes a backward step is what saves a man's life. If moving forward has worn you out, try looking back. Maybe your path isn't in that direction." That night, Kanu sat on the floor of an uncompleted building, thinking. Returning home felt like shame. But what had forward steps given him? Hunger. Homelessness. Rejection. The next morning, he called his mother. She cried on the phone and told him, "My son, come home. You haven't failed. You'll still be my pride." He borrowed transport fare and boarded a bus heading east. As the vehicle sped past the boundaries of Lagos, Kanu shed silent tears, not of shame, but of surrender. The village hadn't changed. Same dusty roads. Same market noise. Same curious eyes staring at him. Some neighbors gossiped, Lagos has completely dealt with him. But his mother welcomed him with open arms. She prepared oaf akwu and pounded yam that evening, like a warrior returning from battle. Days turned to weeks. Kanu helped on the cassava farm, drawing stares from villagers who didn't expect a graduate to dirty his hands. He didn't mind. He needed to heal. While harvesting cassava one morning, Kanu noticed something odd. Locals were traveling miles to buy gari from another town. The village's gari was either too sandy or poorly packaged. That night, a thought sparked. What if I make clean, quality gari, properly sieved, dried, and branded? He took a small loan from the village cooperative and bought a manual grater. He printed a basic label and called his product Gold Gari, quality from the roots. Initially, people laughed. "A university graduate has become a gari seller," they mocked. But the packaging caught attention. Clean. Airtight. Branded. Then came the taste, smooth, fresh, no sand. Schools started ordering for their boarding houses. Local shop owners stocked it. Kanu expanded to nearby towns. His first 250,000 naira profit made him cry. He hired 2 jobless boys in the village to help, taught them processing, and paid them weekly. By the end of the second year, Kanu had grown. He built a mini processing shed, got NAFDAC registration, and registered his business under Kanu Roots Foods Limited. People who once mocked now asked him for jobs. He bought a used delivery tricycle and began supplying across local government area borders. A supermarket in Asaba became his biggest client. Kanu stood one day on the farmland, watching the workers operate the machines, the grater buzzing steadily, the sifter shaking rhythmically, and sacks of finely processed gari being sealed and stacked neatly beside the shed. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the scene, and the scent of roasted cassava filled the air. His heart was full, not just with pride, but with peace. Every struggle. Every night he slept on a bench in Lagos. Every tear he held back while hungry and humiliated, it had all led to this moment. A business built from failure. A future born from a backward step. It was market day in the village, a lively Saturday morning filled with noise, the scent of fresh produce, roasted yam, and spices in the air. Kanu had just delivered a large consignment of gold gari to his newest distributor and was supervising loading at the edge of the market square when something unusual caught his eye. Under a large mango tree sat an elderly man beside a roasted corn stand. His wrinkled face, calm posture, and trademark gray cap stirred a deep familiarity in Kanu's memory. He froze mid-step. He moved closer, cautiously. As he reached the man, his heart thumped. It was him, the old man from Lagos. The one who had offered him roasted corn and water when his life had reached its lowest. The one whose quiet wisdom had planted the seed of return in Kanu's restless soul. "Sir, do you remember me? From Ladipo, Lagos, under the bridge?" Kanu asked, his voice trembling. The old man raised his head slowly, his eyes scanning the young man's face. He blinked twice and then broke into a warm smile. "Ah!" The hungry boy with fire in his eyes. "I remember," he said warmly. "You look stronger now. Cleaner. Fuller." Kanu knelt beside him, overwhelmed with emotion. "You saved me that day, sir. I thought I was finished. But what you said. It brought me back to life." The old man chuckled lightly, breaking a piece of roasted corn. And see you now," he said, his eyes scanning the logo on Kanu's delivery bag. "Gold gari. So you found your gold not in Lagos, but right here in the soil of your fathers." Kanu smiled, humbled. "I thought going back was failure, but it turned out to be direction." The old man leaned closer, his voice softer almost like a whisper. "I'm glad you've seen the wisdom in your retreat. Sometimes, the blessings you seek is waiting behind you, not ahead." Kanu smiled wide, tears forming in his eyes. "You know, I never got to say thank you." The old man waved his hand slowly. "Don't thank me. Thank your spirit for listening. Not everyone hears when the road speaks." Kanu then sat beside him, still dazed. "But sir. What are you doing here? Weren't you in Lagos?" The old man chuckled as he pulled out a small plastic bag of groundnuts. "I live between places. My son sells corn in Ladipo. But this village is home. I come here during harvests to rest. To remember. To remind myself that not everything valuable wears a city suit." The two sat there for a while, silent, watching the crowd pass by. No noise, no hurry, just the quiet satisfaction of paths crossing once more. As the sun began to tilt westward, the old man stood slowly and picked up a small bag. "You've found your path. Guard it. Nurture it. And when the time comes, help someone else find theirs," he said. Kanu nodded, his chest heavy with gratitude. "I will. I promise." The old man smiled once more, then began to walk away, blending into the market crowd, slowly, like a leaf caught in the breeze. Leaving behind not just the memory of a stranger's kindness, but the footprint of fate. Fate is not always found in forward motion, sometimes, your path circles back to where your roots began. And in that return, you find not just yourself, but your calling. For the soil that once nurtured your first steps may also hold the seeds of your purpose. The journey back is not a failure. It is a rediscovery. In the silence of familiar places, old lessons echo louder, and forgotten dreams stir awake. The very streets you once left behind may now welcome you as the person you were always meant to become. Sometimes, going home is the bravest journey of all. Not because you lost your way, but because you've grown enough to understand its meaning. True growth is not measured in distance, but in clarity, purpose, and peace. And sometimes, destiny waits patiently at the doorstep of your beginnings. Where the dust of your past meets the light of your present. It doesn't knock loudly. It whispers, through old faces, familiar scents, and paths once walked in innocence. It reminds you that what you once saw as limitation was really preparation. That the people who shaped you, the land that raised you, and the struggles you thought you'd escaped, all stitched together the fabric of your becoming. You realize then, you were never too far. Every detour, every failure, every heartbreak, they weren't just missteps. They were chapters. And now, as you stand at the threshold, you're not returning as who you were, but as who you were meant to be. Because sometimes, life takes you far. Only to bring you home, to write your legacy where your story first began.